Hi there, this is Daniel Rosell and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So I wanted to record a video talking about a question I've got in the past from people and that I know a lot of people are quite interested in. And that's why some writers choose to get into ghostwriting. So for those who don't know what a ghostwriter is, it's basically a type of writer who doesn't receive attribution or credit for what they write. So ghostwriters commonly work with people such as company executives or even celebrities or other individuals that don't really have the time to commit to a writing project, or maybe their writing skills are not the best. So they work with a ghostwriter, which is basically just a type of freelance writer. So the differences between a freelance writer and a ghostwriter are pretty small. I would say that the main difference is that a ghostwriter is a type of freelance writer that predominantly or even exclusively focuses on ghostwriting compared to a regular freelance writer that might get some credit for their work at least some of the time. So freelance writers, when they get credit, in the jargon of the writing world, that's called a byline. So if you've ever picked up a newspaper and you see under the title, it'll say by somebody. So that's called a byline. And when writers get attribution, that's called a byline. So ghostwriters are basically writers that don't get a byline. So the question goes back to, well, what kind of a writer would not want to get credit for their work? So there are a few reasons why writers ghostwrite. The first is that ghostwriting is a really, really big market. And during the 5 years I've been doing it, I can say I've only seen it actually getting bigger. So there's an enormous demand for ghostwriting services from corporate communicators, from, as I said, the celebrity memoir market is kind of a different thing. But in terms of corporate ghostwriting, which is kind of where I spend most of my time working, all manner of entrepreneurs, startup founders, and people that are just influential in their industry need the services of a ghostwriter. So what kind of things do ghostwriters write? Well, I prefer to take always a wider definition when it comes to ghostwriting. So traditionally, the definition of ghostwriting was ghostwriters work on books. So I've done books, I've ghostwritten books, but that's not all you can ghostwrite. And these days, the market for ebooks and blogs and articles is massive. I also like to think of speech writing as ghostwriting, because realistically, speech writing is ghostwriting. If you're writing a speech for somebody, they're not going to read out at their speech. This speech was written by my ghostwriter, Daniel Rosell. So it's a form of ghostwriting, and that often goes hand in hand, that the same people that require the services of a ghostwriter for speech ghostwriting also require an article. And maybe if they get really successful, they even want to publish a book. So as to why ghostwriters ghostwrite, that's basically the reason. There's a lot of demand in the market for it. Do ghostwriters charge more? There seems to be two schools of thought. Some advocate charging more for ghostwriting because as when you do ghostwriting and you're not getting credit, you are losing your marketing potential. So if I ghostwrite something for a company exec that gets published in a big publication, that's like a really good thing for my branding if I was the writer. But as the ghostwriter, I don't get credit for it. Other people advocate charging less for ghostwriting because they think that your byline should be compensated in its own value. So even within writers and in writing communities, you will see people advocating different approaches for how ghostwriters should charge for their work. Another thing to say is that you do have book authors and that have written their own byline books, and they actually do ghostwriting as a kind of like side hustle. They'll ghostwrite for other first-time authors. So the ghostwriting world is really interesting. There's a lot of demand from a lot of different people. As to why writers like me get into ghostwriting, we do it because there's a lot of work there and we enjoy writing and we're getting paid to write. Ultimately, ghostwriting, the final thing to say about it for those interested in what this job involves, it's a contracted writing service. It's one of my clients recently introduced me to a subject matter expert as a contract writer. So I'm a writer, I get paid to write something, I go home and that's it. As a ghostwriter, I'm not a publisher. That's the kind of part of the literary puzzle that I fill in for people. Hope this video has been interesting for those curious about what ghostwriting is and what ghostwriters do. I will say that there is a field called academic ghostwriting that I always try to distance myself from. That's like kind of helping college kids to like get better grades by writing for them. And I've made the point before, and I stand by it, that I think mainstream ghostwriters working on corporate comms projects are typically not the same people doing academic ghostwriting. Unfortunately, it also gets called ghostwriting, and therefore I think makes the whole industry look a little bit dodgy. But most ghostwriters, including me, are not involved in academic ghostwriting, but in all the other stuff I mentioned. Hope this video has been interesting. If you would like to see more YouTube videos from me, then please subscribe to this channel. Thanks for watching. This has been Daniel Rosell.